Timing is not merely about the ticking of clocks or the management of schedules. It is the hidden architecture behind human desire. Every glance, every pause, every withdrawal or return carries weight, often more powerful than the words themselves. Women, whether they realize it or not, are exquisitely sensitive to rhythm, pacing, and emotional intervals. It is not only what you say or do that matters, but when you do it and in what proportion. A man who understands this doesn't just interact. He engineers experiences that linger in her psychology long after the moment has passed. Machiavelli reminds us that true power rarely comes from brute force. It comes from the mastery of subtle levers that shape perception. Timing is that lever. Reveal too much too soon, and you collapse the mystery. Withdraw too long, and you breed indifference. Strike with precision, however, and you ignite the most dangerous force of all: obsession. In the theater of attraction, timing acts as a silent conductor. It creates suspense, it breeds anticipation, and it forces her mind into the space between your presence and your absence. That space, the gap, becomes fertile ground for curiosity, longing, and pursuit. This is not manipulation for its own sake. It is the psychology of power, the ability to regulate tempo so that desire does not stagnate, but intensifies. The man who learns to control when to appear, when to vanish, when to give, and when to withhold becomes more than just another option. He becomes unforgettable. Step 1. Understand the psychology of absence. Desire is not born from constant presence. It is born from the tension of distance. Human psychology is wired to place a higher value on what is scarce, and women are no exception to this rule. When a man makes himself too available, when his presence becomes predictable, the mystery dissolves, and with it, attraction weakens. Predictability may feel safe, but it is the silent killer of intrigue. The mind craves contrast, not constancy. Absence, when used strategically, changes everything. It transforms you from a man she expects to a man she wonders about. In those gaps you create, those deliberate silences and pauses, her imagination begins to do the work for you. She begins to fill in the void with thoughts of you. And those thoughts are rarely neutral. They are colored by curiosity, by longing, by a growing sense that something important is missing. Think about it. When you are always there, she doesn't have the space to wonder. You are known, predictable, consumed. But when you step back, even subtly, her mind is forced to ask questions it cannot ignore. Why is he gone? What is he doing? Who has his attention? Does he even care about me? Notice how these questions are not simple curiosities. They are emotional hooks. Every unanswered question tightens the string of desire a little more. This is where the true psychological tension begins to build. The absence is not a lack. It is a presence of another kind. It creates a gravitational pull, an invisible weight pressing on her thoughts. She may distract herself, but eventually her mind will circle back. It is a loop she cannot close, because the answer does not come from her. It must come from you, and you are not offering it on demand. Machiavelli understood that power is rarely about direct confrontation. It is about forcing the other person to lean toward you, to chase equilibrium that you alone control. Absence is not weakness, nor is it punishment. It is a weapon. Used wisely, it orchestrates emotional investment without a single. Step 2. The power of the delayed response. In the realm of attraction, speed is rarely your ally. Men often sabotage themselves not by what they say, but by how quickly they say it. Every response you give, whether a text, a call, or an invitation, is more than just communication. It is a broadcast of your inner state. Immediate replies, sent without pause, unconsciously reveal low tension, low control, and high availability. They signal that your time is easily claimed, your attention cheaply won, and your mind eagerly waiting for her lead. To a woman, this is not flattering. It is predictable, and predictability kills desire. Machiavelli would remind us that power lies in withholding as much as it does in giving. The delayed response is not about ignoring her. It is about creating a rhythm where your presence is never taken for granted. Too fast, and you appear needy or predictable. Too slow, and the game risks collapse, as overplaying absence can signal disinterest or provoke disengagement. But the perfect timing. This is the art. It is the deliberate pause that keeps her guessing, keeps her leaning forward, keeps her waiting for the moment you finally choose to step into the frame. Consider how the mind works in anticipation. When a woman sends a flirtatious message, her interest is already sparked, but interest alone does not guarantee investment. If you respond instantly, you satisfy her curiosity before it has time to grow. The tension is released prematurely. But if you respond after a calculated delay, not too long, but long enough for her to notice the space, you create an entirely different effect. Suddenly, she is not just thinking about what you might say, but why you haven't said it yet. The pause becomes a mirror where her insecurities, her curiosity, and her longing are projected back onto her. The tactical beauty of this maneuver is subtle, but devastating. A delayed response communicates something deeper than words. I have my own life, my own rhythm, and your attention is not my oxygen. This is not arrogance. It is sovereignty. It places you in the position of chooser, not chaser. And in that role, respect begins to replace assumption. She may smile when you finally reply, but beneath that smile is the unspoken recognition that you are not easily swayed, not easily owned. This principle extends beyond texts. Imagine she calls you in a moment of impulse. Answering instantly communicates eagerness. Waiting a moment before returning the call suggests composure. Imagine she extends an invitation. Saying yes immediately shows compliance. Taking time before accepting shows discernment. These micro-signals, stacked over time, create a pattern. You are not reactive, you are deliberate. The key, however, is precision. Too much delay risks communicating coldness or disinterest. But just enough delay communicates weight. It frames your presence as something that requires alignment, not something that is always waiting. Think of it as the art of pacing, the dance between proximity and distance, attention and silence. Master it, and you are no longer just another man competing for her time. You become the man she orbits around, waiting for the moment you decide to move. Machiavellian principle. A delayed response is not absence. It is tension. It is the sharpening of silence into a psychological weapon. Used correctly, it transforms ordinary interactions into charged encounters, where every word you finally deliver carries more weight than 100 rushed replies. Step 3. Synchronize with her emotional peaks. Timing is not only about withholding, it is about striking when the emotional terrain is fertile. Attraction is not logical, it is deeply tied to emotional states. Humans, and especially women, respond most powerfully when their emotions are already heightened. A clever man does not waste his presence when her mind is elsewhere. He enters when the stage is primed, when her emotional state is already leaning toward receptivity. This is the Machiavellian use of timing, not to force connection, but to intercept it at its most powerful moment. If If she is stressed, distracted, or consumed by other priorities, your efforts will slide off her like water on stone. Even the most well-crafted words or gestures will feel irrelevant because her emotional energy is closed. In such moments, attention is expensive and rarely given. But when she is in a reflective mood, when she is laughing freely, or when she feels the pang of solitude, your presence is no longer just another input. It becomes the exact thing her emotional state is craving. This is why synchronization matters. It is not about persistence. It is about precision. Consider how memory works. People do not remember you in the neutral moments. They remember who was there when their emotions peaked. If she is excited and you appear, the excitement fuses with your presence. If she is lonely and you arrive with warmth, the loneliness becomes associated with you as its cure. Your timing transforms ordinary gestures into magnetic imprints on her subconscious. What would have been ignored in a flat emotional state becomes unforgettable when delivered in alignment with her peaks. This requires observation. You cannot synchronize if you are blind to her rhythms. Watch closely. Notice when she laughs, when her eyes brighten, when she shares dreams, when she lingers longer in conversation, or when she hints at needing escape. These are not random moments. They are emotional openings, signals that her defenses are lowered and her receptivity heightened. To enter at these moments is not chance. It is strategy. Machiavellian insight. The stage must be set before influence can work. Enter too early, and you are drowned out by noise. Enter too late, and the moment is lost. But enter at the peak, and your words carry 10 times their usual weight. She may not even realize why she feels drawn closer, only that in the moment when she was most alive, most vulnerable, or most open, you appeared. The lesson is simple but profound. Do not always aim to be present. Aim to be present at the right time. It is better to appear rarely at moments of maximum impact than frequently at moments of indifference. A man who understands this does not fight for attention. He positions himself so that attention fights for him. Step 4. The push and pause. Dynamic. If absence builds longing and delayed response creates tension, then the push and pause dynamic is the symphony that ties timing together. This is the essence of mastery, the deliberate alternation between engagement and withdrawal. You do not merely appear or disappear. You conduct her emotions like a musician controls rhythm. Every push and every pause creates waves of suspense, keeping her hooked, curious, and emotionally tethered to you. Think of how suspense works in storytelling. A movie reveals just enough to draw you in, then cuts the scene, forcing you to sit in the tension of what comes next. Your mind demands resolution, and so you stay invested. Attraction follows the same psychological law. When you engage her through charm, playfulness, teasing, or even intellectual depth, you create a spark. But if you never step back, the spark burns out into familiarity. The secret is to withdraw at the precise moment when her attention is rising, leaving her to wrestle with the unfinished note. The push is where you create motion, a witty comment that lingers, a compliment that feels authentic but restrained, a question that touches something deeper. The pause is where you leave her hanging, not in cold rejection, but in calculated silence. You do not slam the door, you leave it half open, forcing her imagination to push it the rest of the way. That imagination, once activated, is your most powerful ally. A woman will fill the pause with thoughts of you, with fantasies, with questions she cannot easily silence. Here lies the paradox of desire. People do not crave what is constantly available. They crave what arrives in waves. The rhythm of engagement followed by withdrawal mimics the primal tension of pursuit itself. The chase, the catch, the pause, the hunger. Too much push, and you look over eager. Too much pause, and you risk being forgotten. But the alternating cycle, the dance of tension and release, creates an addictive loop. She becomes hooked not on you alone, but on the emotional pattern you create within her. Imagine a simple interaction. You lean in, tease her lightly, make her laugh, and then, just as her energy peaks, you pull back. You check your phone, shift the conversation elsewhere, or even excuse yourself briefly. That pause forces her to carry the tension forward. Her mind doesn't want the song to end on an unfinished note. When you return, her attention doesn't restart at zero. It picks up from where the tension left off, stronger than before. This is not manipulation in the childish sense. It is engineering. You are designing the rhythm of desire, making your presence feel less like a conversation and more like a suspense novel she cannot put down. She may not consciously recognize the pattern, but subconsciously she feels it. You are different. You are not desperate to fill every silence. You know when to advance, and more importantly, you know when to retreat. Machiavellian truth. Desire is not awakened by constant pursuit. It is awakened through tension, and tension can only exist in the space between presence and absence. By mastering the push and pause dynamic, you stop being a man who chases and start being the man who sets the rhythm. And the mind, once captured by rhythm, does not easily let go. Step 5. Orchestrate anticipation. Through unpredictability. Predictability is the silent assassin of desire. Once she knows exactly when you'll call, how quickly you'll reply, and how often you'll show up, the psychological game is over. Fascination dies not from lack of presence, but from lack of suspense. A woman cannot become obsessed with what she fully understands. She becomes obsessed with what keeps her guessing. To command fascination, you must introduce rhythm, but not routine. Unpredictability is powerful because it mirrors one of the most addictive psychological systems ever studied, the slot machine effect. Casinos have known this for decades. Intermittent rewards, delivered at unpredictable intervals, create the strongest form of psychological attachment. Why? Because the human brain becomes addicted to anticipation, not outcome. The thrill lies in not knowing when the reward will come, only that it will. Apply this to attraction, and you begin to see why unpredictability is so devastatingly effective. When she cannot predict when she will hear from you, when you will appear, or when you will engage, her mind begins to spiral. She starts investing energy into imagining scenarios. Will he text me today? Why hasn't he replied yet? When will I see him again? Was that our last conversation? Or is he waiting to surprise me? Each question is not just idle curiosity. It is an emotional hook that pulls her deeper into orbit. The space you create becomes a theater for her imagination, and imagination is always more powerful than reality. Here lies the Machiavellian genius. Unpredictability does not mean chaos. It is not about ignoring her for weeks or playing games that signal carelessness. True unpredictability exists within the frame of boundaries. You give enough to show value, to remind her that you are engaged, but never so much that she feels she owns your rhythm. Some days you reply quickly, other days you delay. Sometimes you initiate, other times you don't. Sometimes you stay longer in conversation, other times you exit at your peak. What emerges is not inconsistency, it is intrigue. Practical execution is subtle. Combine steady signals of value with intermittent presence. Your texts, messages, or meetings should never feel automatic. They should feel earned. This trains her unconscious mind to see every interaction with you as special, rare, and valuable. Contrast this with the man who is always available, always responsive, always present. His attention becomes cheap, his presence taken for granted. He may be reliable, but reliability without suspense is invisible. Think of it like music. A song without variation is noise. It is the pauses, the unexpected notes, the sudden shifts in tempo that make the melody memorable. Your timing must be the same, sometimes fast, sometimes slow, sometimes intense, sometimes distant. The unpredictability doesn't confuse her. It awakens her. It forces her to lean forward, to wonder, to desire. Machiavellian principle. Do not strive to be constant. Strive to be captivating. Constancy creates comfort, but unpredictability creates obsession. A woman who knows she cannot predict you is a woman who must think about you constantly. And that is how anticipation transforms into attachment. Step 6. Use timing to signal high value and self-mastery. Attraction is not built on words alone. It is built on signals. And one of the most powerful signals a man can send is how he treats his own time. Every strategic delay, every calculated pause, every measured absence communicates a deeper truth. I live by my own rhythm. My time is precious. Your attention is not my lifeline. It is a guest in my world. This, more than any compliment or gesture, ignites primal attraction. Women are not drawn to men who are endlessly available. They are drawn to men who appear to live in a higher orbit, men whose lives seem rich, purposeful, and full, with or without them. Timing mastery is how you silently project this truth. When you do not rush to respond, you send the message that you are not governed by impulse, but by choice. When you do not flood her with presence, you reveal that you value quality over quantity. When you appear on your own terms, you embody the ultimate trait of masculine power: autonomy. This is not about arrogance, it is about self-possession. The man who chases her rhythm communicates dependence. The man who imposes his own rhythm communicates sovereignty. And sovereignty is irresistible. It taps into ancient, unconscious attraction cues. The protector, the leader, the man whose presence cannot be begged or bargained for, but must be earned. Timing mastery is not an external trick. It is an internal reflection of power. If you must force delays, you will appear manipulative. But if the delay arises naturally from a life filled with purpose, goals, and discipline, the effect is far more profound. She does not just see you as a man who withholds. She sees you as a man who is in command of himself, his time, and his emotions. And nothing is more magnetic than control. Think about the contrast. One man replies within seconds, available at every hour, eager to give all of himself at the slightest request. Another man responds with calm deliberation, never rushed, never desperate. His presence feels rare, his attention selective, his time costly. Which one do you think she will value more? Which one becomes forgettable, and which one becomes unforgettable? Machiavellian principle. Timing is not about playing games. It is about broadcasting power. By mastering when to appear, when to delay, and when to withdraw, you reveal that your center of gravity is within yourself, not in her. That silent signal is what separates the man who is desired from the man who is dismissed. Step 7. Timing as emotional engineering. At the highest level, timing is not simply about when you respond or when you withdraw. It is about engineering emotions. It is the invisible framework upon which desire is built. Think of it as constructing a psychological architecture. attention, absence, curiosity, anticipation, desire. This sequence is not accidental, it is designed. When you give attention, you ignite the spark of interest. When you step back, you create absence, the fertile soil where her imagination takes root. That absence breeds curiosity, the restless questioning of your motives and your intentions. Curiosity, when unanswered, transforms into anticipation. Her mind begins to prepare for your return, to crave resolution. And anticipation, when stretched to its breaking point, flowers into desire. The beauty of this system is that it feels self-generated. She believes it is her own longing driving the pursuit, when in truth, you are the unseen architect of every step. This is the Machiavellian genius of timing. It allows you to guide without pushing, to influence without demanding, to captivate without appearing to try. The moment she feels pressure, she resists. But when her own mind builds the tension, when she becomes the one asking, "Why hasn't he reached out? When will I see him again?" That tension does not repel her, it enslaves her. And you did not force it, you only adjusted the tempo. Think of yourself as the conductor of an orchestra. Each push, each pause, each silence, each unpredictable note is part of a larger composition. She hears the music, but she does not see the hands that arrange it. She feels desire growing, yet she cannot pinpoint why. The answer is rhythm. The answer is timing. And once she is captured by rhythm, she cannot easily break free from it. This is why timing must never be mistaken for manipulation in the shallow sense. It is not about childish games or artificial coldness. It is about crafting an emotional journey that heightens her experience of you. You are not removing her freedom. You are shaping her focus. She believes she is chasing. She believes she is desiring. And she is. But you are the one who set the stage, dimmed the lights, and directed the play. Machiavellian truth. Desire is not a flame you light directly. It is a fire that ignites in the gaps, in the silences, in the intervals you engineer. The man who masters timing becomes the invisible hand that shapes a woman's emotions without force, without pleading, without loss of dignity. He does not demand obsession. He orchestrates it. Machiavelli's lesson is sharp and unforgiving. Mastery of timing is the difference between being forgotten and being unforgettable. Ordinary men waste their energy chasing, convincing, and explaining. But the man who understands timing knows that desire is not pursued. It is orchestrated. With the right rhythm, even simple interactions become psychological leverage. A glance, a pause, a delayed response, all are transformed into instruments of power. Presence without constant availability, attention without reckless urgency, engagement tempered with strategic absence. These are not tricks. They are the architecture of fascination. Timing is invisible to the eye, yet its effect is undeniable. A man who controls timing does not just participate in attraction, he directs it. He becomes the pulse she feels, but cannot name, the rhythm her mind follows without question. And here lies the final truth. The man who understands timing does not need to argue, to over-explain, or to impress. He moves when the moment amplifies his influence. He pauses when anticipation must grow. He disappears when absence becomes the ultimate magnet. He reappears when her heart is primed for impact. In the dance of attraction, words may fade, gestures may be forgotten, but timing remains eternal. It is the silent weapon, unseen yet undefeated, that captures hearts and commands obsession. Master timing, and you will never chase desire again. Desire will chase you.